Okay, realistically, you could make like 2 or 3 videos going over what's going down in Chicago, but I'm gonna start out everything by saying this. Chicago just made a disaster trade scenario. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, they had a disaster, and thus they made a trade to combat that. Let's go out there and say it. So, here's what went down. The Chicago Blackhawks have made a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are getting AHL forward Rem Pitlick for a 2026 7th round pick. And the pick is conditional, so we don't even know if it's going to go over to Pittsburgh by the time everything is said and done from today. But there's a reason Chicago is getting Rem Pitlick of all people. We actually talked about this in the video. When did we talk about Rem Pitlick? Literally yesterday. Yeah, we talked about how Pitlick was doing pretty well in the AHL, 24 points in 32 games played. Yes, that's what it was. We talked about how he could be a nice supporting piece for Jesse Puljujarvi to build off of with the AHL Penguins, but he's going to be heading over to Chicago now. And if I had to bet money, which I don't, but if I were a betting man, I'd say that Rem Pitlick probably gets some NHL time by the time he heads over to Chicago. He's played in the NHL in the past. He's been a pretty okay player sometimes. I mean, 26 points, in 46 games played for the Canadiens in 21-22 definitely isn't bad. But this season, his 24 points in 32 AHL games are encouraging for anybody looking for NHL caliber production out of this guy. I mean, even 15 points in 46 NHL games last year. Pitlick just did not have any opportunities with Montreal towards the end, which is why he got sent down and sent away. But either way, Rem Pitlick is heading over to Chicago, and he's doing so for a very particular reason. Chicago needs forwards, because the disaster that we are talking about, that we didn't start the video out with, is right here. The Blackhawks have placed Connor Bedard with a fractured jaw and Nick Foligno with a fractured left finger on the injury reserve. Oh dear. Oh dear, baby. Connor Bedard is injured. Nick Foligno is also injured. And you may be going out there and saying, okay, what happened? These guys are both out at the same time. I'll tell you what happened. The guy who ended up injuring both of these players is none other than Brendan Smith, who, if I had to guess, should be public enemy number 1 in Chicago right now. Brendan Smith, this guy, is responsible for both Connor Bedard and Nick Foligno getting injured like a minute or 2 apart from each other. It's wild. So, I mean, look, big shout out to Brendan Smith, 3 points in 30 games played this year as a left-handed defenseman, 34 years old. He's been playing in the NHL for over a decade, and I'm sure Red Wings fans are familiar with Smith and his game. I mean, he played a lot with them back in the day. But Brendan Smith literally is the guy who caused everything to go down, because yesterday in the game between the New Jersey Devils and the Chicago Blackhawks, you had yourselves this timeline of events that ended up taking place. I think most of y'all probably saw the clip of Connor Bedard getting hit by Brendan Smith, but Screw Off has our timeline of events laid all the way out here. Here's the timeline. Brendan Smith gets skated into, and Connor Bedard injures himself. Yeah, by the way, I feel like that's the more appropriate way to talk about it. Connor Bedard didn't really get, maliciously targeted by Brendan Smith or whatever. No, if you watch the video, Connor Bedard is skating into the zone. He kind of just runs into Smith. He injures himself on the play, and it is a fractured jaw. We know this now. As a response to Bedard getting hurt, the Blackhawks then jump Brendan Smith. Foligno picks a fight with Brendan Smith to avenge Connor. Foligno hurts himself, too, by punching Smithy in the face. Brendan Smith, minding his own business, injured 2 Chicago Blackhawks. That is incredible. It would be better to say injured on rather than injured by Brendan Smith. Both of these guys, Nick Foligno and Connor Bedard, ended up getting hurt because they just happened to run into or start wailing on Brendan Smith. That is, look, I don't want to go out there and say I want to see people getting hurt, but that is pure comedy. Like, how do you even think about that? The last video, we said the hockey gods, you gotta calm down. This is not cool. This is not cool. I mean, it's funny, but like, it's not cool. Connor Bedard is hurt, ladies and gentlemen, and now, depending on how long he's going to be out for, there could be a legitimate chance that he does not win the Calder Trophy this year. We're going to talk about this more in a video later on, but still, Connor Bedard, this season, 33 points, 39 games played, on pace for about 70 points. 70 points in this god-awful Chicago Blackhawks team? Like, there are people saying he could be out there maybe getting 100 points if everything goes right. And now, after seeing Connor Bedard suit up in the NHL in 23-24, I honestly believe it. Like, if Connor Bedard was just playing on a better team, had better line mates, had anybody else who could help him out, this guy could be a 100-point scorer right now. But 70 points is all he'll have to settle for as a point production pace because, look, dude, this Chicago team is so bad. And Nick Foligno has been having a pretty alright season too in Chicago. He's got 17 points in 39 games played. He's no Connor Bedard, but still, having this guy, who's been one of the biggest leaders of your team, lose out on a good chunk of time because he ended up fracturing his finger trying to punch Smith in the face, that's wild. Especially when it comes after Brendan Smith kind of just standing there and hurting Connor Bedard because Connor Bedard skated into him. That's wild, dude. Like, I don't know what else there is to say about this. I'll probably make another video talking about Connor Bedard and, like, the similarities to another situation that I feel like some of y'all might be thinking about. Throwback to 2015-16 season and the Calder conversation then. It even involves Chicago, too. Hey, go figure. But either way, Connor Bedard is hurt, and this opens the door for some really interesting discussion with some future awards. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Blackhawks making a trade to rebuttal against this disaster situation. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to title this video. What do we say here? This was supposed to be about, like, the trade, but it's also about Bedard being injured. I mean, Rem Pitlick's going to come in here, hopefully try to get himself some games, get some reps at the NHL level again. I mean, without Connor Bedard, this team is going to be so bad to watch. I don't know how anybody's going to survive it, but hey, you're going to get Macklin Celebrini next year, too, because of this, right? Depending on how long Connor Bedard is out for. But another thing to pay attention to in regards to this entire thing, there also was another jaw injury that we ended up seeing here. Boone Jenner was taken out of the lineup in Columbus last month because of a fractured jaw. I think the entire thing was that he wanted to play through it, but the Blue Jackets wouldn't let him. So fractured jaw is no joke, dude. Like, Connor Bedard, you could say, oh yeah, like he ran his face into Brendan Smith. How does that impact his ability to play hockey? Like, he's still moving his feet, he's still shooting, he can still do that. Like, how does a fractured jaw really help him? Does a fractured jaw really slow him down? Well, it is a medical thing. And Boone Jenner in Columbus literally had that same thing happen to him, and he was forced to stay out of the lineup for 6 weeks. So we know that this is kind of the situation here. Chicago, I mean, look, I feel bad for you guys, but you had to go out there and try to address this somehow. You did it with this trade. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this disaster trade situation in Chicago. Connor Bedard is out. Rem Pitlick is coming in. Brendan Smith should be public enemy number 1. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.